Bienvenido a Desde Cero. Welcome to Right from the Start. Today's guest, we have Irma Leticia Barrera.
Thank
Welcome to
you.
the podcast. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to do this.
So I asked you because we're going to talk about why businesses are closing and why people are having a hard time maintaining a business, especially local businesses,
Mhm.
right? But before we get into that conversation, let's get to know you a little bit, Irma. And we want to ask you, where were you born?
Okay, so I was born in Chicago, but I was raised in Houston, so I'm a Texas girl through and through.
Through and through.
Mhm.
Okay, and family?
My family, from Mexico, my dad is from Guanajuato, and my mom was born in Bronzeville, but she was raised in Matamoros.
Okay.
Mhm.
Brother, siblings?
Oh my God, it's 7 of us, 5
7.
girls and 2 boys. I'm smack in the middle. I'm lucky number 4.
Okay.
Mhm.
And did you grow up in Chicago or did you
No,
move around?
I grew up in Houston. Well, I think we moved to Texas when I was about 2 years old.
Okay.
So I grew up in Houston, and then in we ended up in Bryan in 1990 when I was about 10 years old.
Okay.
Growing up, my dad was actually a janitor, and my mom, didn't work. It was 5 of us when we were at home, in Houston, sorry. And, my dad worked hard, and he got smart about looking this is one thing about business. Location, location, location,
Right.
right? So we were from Houston. Obviously, there's a lot of competition over there. The market can be oversaturated even back then in 1990. So he ended up opening the first Mexican panaderia here, the one that's off of MLK.
Right. And yeah, you were telling me that story and right now that panaderia is called La Espiga, right?
La Espiga
What
de
was it
Oro.
called back then?
Back then, it just had a sign. My dad is very humble. My dad did not want to be the face of the business at all.
Right.
It was just called La Panaderia, or people that knew him would know
Mhm.
it as Emilio's Panaderia or Don Emilio.
How did you guys end up going from Chicago to Houston? What was the
Um,
reason for that? Was it business? Was it
no,
work?
no, and my mom better not kill me for this. Listen, okay, we have no shame. God is great, and everybody's testimony and story is different, right?
Right.
So my daddy came to America when he was really young. My dad is not your typical Mexicano with corridos and botas, and my dad was a hippie.
Mm.
So my dad was in California. I hear stories of like him playing soccer with Santana and his brother, and so my daddy liked to garden. He loved that, the devil's lettuce. so my
I
m-
think I know what you mean.
yes, and my mama is no. My mom, no, definitely not. So, and my dad has a lot of my dad has very, very severe social anxiety. So it's not like my dad was ever out partying doing that. He'd just be at home, I
Mhm.
guess relaxing and maybe dealing now that we know so much, maybe dealing with his own anxiety that way, right?
Right.
So I was 2 years old and my mom was like, "No, I'm not gonna put up with this." So my mom being from Texas moved to first Bronzeville, Texas, with her best friend who we consider my aunt. And my dad followed her and he completely gave it up. He
Oh,
was like, "I'm not losing my family," and it wasn't worth it to him. So that's
okay.
how we ended up in Texas.
Right. You moved to Brownsville and then to
And then to
Houston?
Houston.
Well,
Well, technically, Bronzeville, it was just like my mom, like leaving from the situation in
mhm,
Chicago and not
okay.
really having anybody in Houston, or that's where her family and friends were from in Bronzeville.
Okay, where did you go to school?
In Houston, I went to Eisenhower High School. Here, I went to Bryan High. Oh, I actually went to Sam Rayburn for a few years.
Wow,
Yeah, I
okay.
went a couple years there, and then I want to say Bryan High, I went 1 year. School unfortunately was not for me.
Mhm.
Back in the day, as soon as you turned 17, I knew what I wanted to do. I went and got my GED. I moved back to Houston to work and go to school over there. I wanted to be a nurse. I
Okay,
wanted to eventually be a nurse. So I ended up going to a trade school over there.
okay, did you become a nurse?
No, no.
What'd you end up,
I ended up getting married. I met my ex-husband while I was trying to get my medical assistant certificate
Mhm,
because the idea was that I was going to work my way up to, an RN. Um, and I think all I needed were my externship hours. But when I met him, we only had the one vehicle. And so he was working and, oh, I'll take care of you. Okay, fine. So I took off and I was like, I'll eventually go back.
mhm.
Never went back. 3 years into the marriage, I finally decided to get a job. And I got really, really lucky with what I ended up as my careers, I'm going to say. I ended up getting a job for WIC. women, infant, children
Right.
program, actually here in Bryan, and I've been blessed with nothing but great, like, kind of. I always tell people I've done a lot of social and medical work before this, and I'm actually back in a doctor's office now. So I got really lucky that I started like social community work through there.
Hmm.
From there, I ended up at a community center in Austin because we moved to Austin, and
Is this why you still married?
I'm sorry.
Is this why you were still
This
married?
was still yes,
Okay.
yes. I got married in '99, had my son in 2004. I got divorced in 2007. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's the timeline.
So how did you end up back in Bryan?
I ended up back in Bryan because I had already been about 3 years divorced, I think, at that time, because it was 2010. My ex-husband ended up moving to Houston because that's where his family's from.
Hmm.
And my son was like 2 and a half, and I was like, "Oh, no, he's gonna be farther from my son." Like, I didn't wanna be the reason that I didn't wanna be like a bump or, something in that where
Right.
he wasn't gonna be able to get his son. So I was like, "If I move o to Bryan, my family's there anyways, you know, it's an hour and a half as opposed to a 3-hour drive, right? So
Right.
this way he can see the kid whenever he wants or the kid whenever he wants. And I applied for a job over here, and within 2 weeks I got it. So I felt like God was telling me to come over here. 3 months later, that man moved back to Austin, but
Mm.
here we are. There's a reason for
Okay.
everything.
Were your parents still living here?
Yes, my parents have been
Okay.
here since the 90s.
Okay, and they never moved
No.
anywhere.
Mm-mm.
So what do you do now?
Now I am like a front desk clerk at a medical office in Normandy. It's actually
Mm,
the only family practice office there.
okay.
Yeah, with St. Joseph's. I just started that in
All
July.
right. And that's what's the taqueria?
So my taquero mucho. This is how I ended up in business.
Okay. Let's talk about your business. Let's
Yes.
promote it.
So, well, it's it's kind of hard to promote. I don't even know what to do with it anymore. So I started off as honestly, it started off as an idea,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
I think I had this idea in 2020. I started the Facebook page in 2020, so I had started the marketing even there. Um, and then once I had the opportunity to get the food truck and to actually bring it in, everything into fruition, that's when it really like went off more than just an idea.
Hmm.
Not only was it an idea to open a business, but since I feel like my purpose in life is to serve others one way or another, there's so much that I wanted to do for the community with the
Right.
business, especially the minority community in Bryan, like especially for our children. My son, he's 20 now, but back in the day, and he still raps. My son would rap, right? But luckily, he had somebody supportive, that could afford the studio, that could afford, but there's so much talent in these children in Bryan College Station. There's no outlet for them.
Right.
We have programs like Boys and Girls Club. Um, Unfortunately, not a lot of people qualify for that. Me, even being a single mother, I never qualified for any programs to help with my son, like, any kind of resources out there.
Right.
I always paid after, school care, and a lot of people can't afford that. And so the beginning root of this business was, yeah, I'm gonna be doing something that I love, which is cooking. I've learned that food is my new love language. But also there was so much that I wanted to do with the community. So
How
much.
what was the process in getting the food truck and getting a menu or anything like that? What was the process of this whole
Okay.
business?
So my dad had already bought the food truck, and there was a couple that had started running it. And I believe they were doing Guatemalan food out of it.
Hmm.
And there was some issues where they couldn't keep running it. And even before that, I kept telling my dad, I had seen the whole quesabirria phase hit everywhere.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was everywhere. Right. And I tried it and I was like, dude, this is like, we need this here. Right.
Hmm.
And so I would go to my dad and I'd be like, you need to make them do, have them do this. Like, I promise you, this is going to bring you, money and this and that. And anyways, they ended up having an issue. And that's when my dad was finally like, all right, go ahead and come in and do what you want and how you want to do it. So it was timing. I feel
Hmm.
again, God does everything for a
Right.
good reason. At that point, I was a customer service supervisor for Wayfair, like
Hmm.
phone customer service. So I was working from home. So everything just aligned perfectly when it did and when it did. Like I said, I already had the idea. My mom and I had already been talking about, well, maybe we'll start at a commercial kitchen, working out of there or, this and that. And then when the opportunity came up with the food truck, we were like, okay, no, this is where we want to go. So it started off with the whole, quesabirria idea,
Mhm.
the tacos, obviously, and then things that I would see on Instagram. The bigger cities were doing like the quesabirria pizza, and things started off with the regular, basic menu. I'm gonna say basic of what was already going on,
Okay.
but then slowly but surely, being a cook, things come together, and we would start coming up with new things, new ideas, and
Right.
but generally always kept it in the quesabirria like realm.
Okay.
Like, we started doing our elote with quesabirria. We just started doing chimichangas with the quesabirria. Like
Mm.
everything was around
How
it.
how were the first couple of months of
The-
you kicking it off?
so that's what I was having a conversation about this earlier. The first 3 months, we grossed about over 40,000. That first
Wow.
three, yes, yes, that is
In a
one.
food truck? That's
Yes,
pretty
sir.
amazing, ain't it?
Yes, sir. That is one thing about Bryan College Station. Lord Jesus, when there's a new business, it is jam-packed,
Yeah, and
right?
everybody loves Mexican food.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and don't let them get started. It's not real Mexican or Tex-Mex. Listen, honestly, I don't know any Mexican that differentiates Tex-Mex or
Right,
Mexican when we go somewhere.
right.
When we go somewhere, we say it's a Mexican restaurant,
Yeah,
regardless.
yeah,
Regardless. I mean, at least that's how I've never heard. And my parents are Mexicanos. I've never heard my parents be like, "Oh, let's go eat Tex-Mex." No,
yeah. It's
no,
Mexican
it's
food.
Mexican. Exactly. So stop fighting people, okay?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, tell me about the first couple of months.
So the first months were really exciting, really, really exciting. Like I said, we grossed over about 40,000. I can probably go back and look at the numbers, make sure, but it was roughly in that area. We were obviously really excited. Great feedback. Oh God, I'm trying to think if we had any events the first 3 months. Because that was a big part of it too, that I started like, okay, we're gonna start
Right.
doing events. We start, with these events, we're gonna start doing like a certain percent of sales goes to it, something, that we're having that. I think our first event was Pride. I think Pride was our first event that we
Mhm.
had that year at the truck. So it was during Pride month and we had like specials and then we like I designed shirts like this is actually my niece designed our logo.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'll design my own shirts or I'll design, or use some of her art or other people's art that, I'll commission off of them and stuff. And and just started doing, like, oh, we designed our Pride logo, right? Which is the same thing. She just has her rainbow little
Right,
bandana on
right,
it. And we would give, the idea behind it was to give, proceeds to the Pride
right.
Community Center, the
Right,
local
it was a lot of marketing is what I'm hearing, right?
marketing.
It's a nonstop marketing thing, right?
Nonstop marketing, and I cannot express this enough. And if you pay attention, start paying attention if you haven't already. You can always tell when a local business is hurting when all of a sudden there's marketing, 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 marketing.
Mhm.
If you're on the BCS Meals Deals page, which
Right.
is a huge page that started in during COVID to benefit local
Mhm.
eateries, that's where I started my marketing and making connections there. That's the main one that I can always see when a business is struggling, when all of a sudden they're starting to market there. It's work. It is
Mhm.
work.
It's nonstop
It's
work.
nonstop work. It is. But the reality is nobody's gonna do this work like you are.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can definitely some people don't have the ability. If you can afford to pay out and do it, definitely. I wasn't in a position to do that. And for one, I'm a perfectionist. I want things done the way
Right.
I want them done, right? Um, but it's a huge investment, not only financially, at the beginning, and even still, I still do giveaways, having a truck or not. Yes, in part it's I can say it's marketing, but really I'm a giver. I love doing giveaways. I get so excited about those things,
Right.
right? But it's a huge investment in yourself, not only financially, but yeah, your time, mentally, physically, emotionally. It is work. It is a lot of work. Um, I think you'll also notice like Rusty will post that a restaurant is going out, is having a slow day or something, and then
Right.
everybody, and they'll do good, a little bit, and I see them marketing again, and then it stops again.
Right.
The marketing part is a huge process of it,
Right.
and marketing has changed big time. When I first started my social media marketing, and I will tell you this is my own father, you're worried about the wrong things. I'm like, "Dad, I got over 2,000 followers." 2,000 cars pass by here, you know? He's like, "Are they seeing it?" You know, because I was parked at my dad's spot.
Okay.
And, I would get bummed out. But then I would have to realize my dad's old school business.
Mhm.
My dad didn't do any marketing. My dad didn't, none of that.
Right.
It was all word of mouth. It was just consistency,
Right.
more than anything. You didn't have a way to announce back in 1990, "Hey, we're going to be closed today."
Right.
I think of one time that either they had, I think it was the gas. There was a gas leak. For some reason, they had cut off the gas at the panaderia. It was a panaderia slash taqueria,
Mhm.
right? There was no way of announcing, "Hey, we don't have any tacos." No, but what my dad did is he went and put out a sign, is tortas, tortas, tortas. You know, we already had the bolillo made because it was a panaderia.
Okay.
So he just went and got stuff for sandwich for tortas, like cold
Mhm.
cuts and queso fresco. And so that's what we were doing. So we have businesses have such a great tool when it comes to
Right.
social media now.
Did you learn, how to run a business through your father?
Yes. Yes, that's
What things did you learn from him?
the number one thing is patience. The reality is, and you don't need to go to business school for this, it takes 2 to 5
Hey,
years.
still go to business
No,
school.
no, still go to business school, definitely. I'm just saying his son's doing business, y'all. So no, definitely, definitely. Like there's some things that I've learned from my friend that went
Uh-huh.
to business school that I'm like, oh, that's great. I
Right.
had no idea, right? No, the number one thing that I was gonna say was patience, because a lot of people don't realize it takes it used to be 2 to 3. I think now we're looking at 2 to 5 years for
Mhm.
you to even see a turnover, let
Right.
alone a profit. You know, so for 2, 3 years, you're gonna be struggling, maybe just, not necessarily just maintaining, not making a profit, and that's just the name of the game. That's the number one thing, patience,
Right.
patience, and that's something we can, I guess, kinda look at, like, a lot of these places that recently have closed, they haven't been open more than 2, 3, 4
Right.
years, right? Somebody had mentioned about, they're like, "Oh, well, I know the COVID had a huge impact." A lot of these businesses that have been closing lately weren't even open during COVID.
Right. Where are you located? Do you stay in one spot or do you, drive around?
No, so that's where I was gonna go into where I don't know what we're doing anymore. We sold the truck in January.
Okay.
I technically don't do anything with the food truck anymore. I still work with a commercial kitchen
Mhm.
locally. So I'll have like I started doing like quesabirria tamales when I'm in the mood to cook. And I'm so sorry, guys. Yes, it is when I'm in the mood. Sorry. I know you guys are always like ramen and yeah, if I'm in the mood, let's have a sale, right? So I'll do sales out of that. But at this point, I got to grow the page to where it's at that money doesn't motivate me. Obviously I don't do this for fine. If I did, I would have stayed in business and I would have kept
Right.
trying and kept trying. And um, I got the page to the point where it's known more than just a taco truck. I mean, it's going on a year that I haven't been open,
Mhm.
and we're still very popular. I think we got up to, I don't know, because I really suck at the numbers, but 8 point something thousand followers. We've gotten up to 20 million views on our page,
Okay.
and we don't sell tacos. I don't sell
What
tacos.
what kind of business are you doing now?
So now, honestly, it's for me personally, I do everything. I can print, I can design. I started designing like personal loteria cards for a while and
Mhm.
putting those on shirts. I can do catering. I can do decorating. You name it, I can do it. I'm down for whatever. At this point, the page is more about marketing small businesses here in town.
Okay.
Like we've stayed true to what it started off as, and that's to support local and actually have something positive come out to the community I say Bryan College Station, but honestly, the whole Brazos area.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody, Brazos Valley is a big,
Yes, it
big
is.
community.
Mhm.
So,
It's huge.
yeah, we try to. I did the same thing when I had my boxing club. You try to reach out to not just local people, but in the surrounding
Yeah.
areas. And there's a lot of people that
Yeah.
will drive down here for
Oh,
business,
yeah. Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah.
Well, let's get going on that topic
Okay.
that we came to discuss. Like you mentioned, Rusty kind of broke our hearts when he posted that Paisano's
Ugh,
Pizzeria
that
was
one
closed,
hurt. That one hurt big
and I was like,
time.
"Wait a minute, what is going on
Yeah.
in this in the city in this town?" A lot of businesses are closing, especially a lot of small local
Mhm.
businesses, and it's kind of concerning. because we're losing a lot of local businesses, and a lot of people depend on that income,
Mhm.
and what's going on, and we can see it. The economy is bad. Everything is kind of the downfall,
Mhm.
and I kind of wanted to know why all these business, which seemed that they were selling and always busy, are still closing.
So, I will touch on the economy being bad thing, okay? Because I traveled to Houston, and I was in Houston for 6 months,
Hmm.
January up until July. Houston is alive and thriving. I have friends in Houston and Austin alive and thriving.
Right.
I understand it's a bigger metropolitan area, but what I've been researching, the economy isn't as bad as people are making it seem.
Right.
Like I said, I wanted to do my research because somebody had commented,
Right.
I had posted this and somebody had commented, well, oh, eating out has decreased. It actually has not.
Right.
Eating out has not decreased
Right.
in the
We
US.
we go out all the time.
Okay, that's all. Baby, I live by myself. I'm not
You know,
cooking just
and
for one.
yeah, and if you drive around town, I mean, there's houses being built and there's businesses growing.
Bingo.
New businesses opening, and a Plucker's just open.
Okay.
And all these. It looks like it's thriving, but these
Yes.
businesses are hurting and closing.
Yes, yes. So, yes, okay, I'm so glad you touched on that because I was like, "Man, I'm gonna do my research." House sales are up for the most part.
Right.
Car sales are up. Have you noticed who's not hurting? Smoke shops and liquor shops. The
Right.
priorities, right?
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I do my part.
yeah. Ditto, ditto. That Western Beverages on Kroger's is my spot. Hey, we gotta support local, right?
Right. Right.
But yes, you absolutely are right there. Honestly, I hate to say it, and y'all probably don't want to hear it. It's the community as far as our local government, you know, our cost of living here,
Right.
right? Our cost of living is a huge issue. Okay. When I started to look for a brick and mortar store or a shop, some location to,
Mhm.
rent out, I wasn't finding anything cheaper than
Right.
$6,000. Okay. Now, this is an empty spot, right? I would still have to put in everything I need for a kitchen. The hood, the
Right.
grill, the connections probably
Yeah, you'll have
like
to build out, yeah.
yes, yes. So it's not just, oh, it's rent.
Right.
So yeah, I honestly think that the biggest issue here is our cost of living. And not only in restaurants. I think I just read an article where there's some new luxury apartments coming up. Can we get affordable housing? Can we
Right.
please? Like,
Right.
and
Yeah, you see these houses, and they have like 2 feet worth of yard, and
yeah.
they want 300,000 for it, and
Yes.
2 rooms, and I mean,
Yes.
what's going
Yeah.
on there?
Just
Is
rent alone. Okay, so I wanna touch on that because I had posted one time as well on the page. I'm telling you, I get some great information from
right.
people on there. Um, where somebody from a realty group was like, "Hey, well, we were complaining about, how expensive rent is,
Hmm.
just rent for a house,
Right.
or for a room." And somebody was like, "Well, the consumer drives the market." That means us. That means the
Hmm.
community. That means
Okay.
consumers. But which consumers are driving that market? The ones that can afford those prices. So the consumers that can't, us, we're in competition with who? Right? We're in competition with people that can actually afford these prices. Not their fault, but it's basically coming down to we don't have a choice because we need it.
Right.
The
Yeah.
the higher spending consumer is the one that's setting these prices for the community, and the community, the lower, income consumer can't afford, but because the higher is setting those prices. I don't know that I'm explaining it right. I'm sorry. I think I'm confusing myself. Not confusing myself, but I feel like I'm confusing you. Um, I guess like what I'm trying to say is people that can afford, the $5,000 of rent, they're keeping that in business.
Hmm.
And so why are the realty companies gonna change that for people that can't afford it?
Right.
It's
They're making a good profit off of this.
yes, yes.
And as long as they keep paying, they're going to keep raising prices,
Exactly. That's exactly
you
what I was
know.
trying to
But
say.
where do the lower income people go?
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. So yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's great. I'm not, like I said, no fault at all for the higher, income consumers. Go on and live your best life. But what are our cities doing for us? I mean, that's the reality of it. And this is when it comes to voting locally.
Right.
I'm not going to try to sit here and act like I know about everything about politics. I don't. I tell people all the time, I don't do politics. I'm a humanitarian. If anything does not feel right in my soul, it just doesn't feel right. And but unfortunately, here a big part of that is,
Right.
our local officials. I think they can help, maybe if they can't help with the market, or setting prices, at least with morale, with, letting us know that you're here for us,
Right.
and,
What do you think they should be doing?
um, see, I
I
can't
mean,
get it.
how can they control the market?
They can control market. They can put certain restrictions on, like, rent prices and rent, there's things. I was reading something earlier about, let me see if I still have it on there.
Any names we can talk?
N- okay, see, you're trying to get me in trouble. Okay, so I'm gonna put this out here, and I'm not gonna say it. It's nothing personal. I don't personally know this man. The mayor of Bryan.
Hmm.
I was really excited when I saw that he was, when I first saw, I was like, oh my God, we're gonna get, and it looks like he knows about business and this and that. He owns
Right,
a
because he's a,
business.
he's a business
He's a
owner.
business owner.
He's a tire shop owner.
Ethically, I don't feel like that's right. I'm sorry.
Uh-huh.
Again, I'm a humanitarian. This isn't politics. This isn't, ethically. I remember I have a friend that works for the city, and there was a city council opening or something. And he came to the truck and he's like, dude, you should totally run for it. He's like, oh, never mind. You wouldn't be able to have your business. Because
Mm,
ethically, that's not correct. But the mayor can have a business, which is fine, but just personally, I don't.
right.
And that's another thing talking about the city. Sorry, I squirrel. Just simply with running a food truck. A lot of
Hmm.
food trucks are so over the city regulations,
Right.
you know?
And it looks like there's hundreds of them now. Every corner. And maybe it's the new thing. Maybe it's the way to fight back all this high rent and whatnot. Because these you buy your truck and you don't have no
No,
rent. Maybe pay for a spot.
yeah,
But maybe that's going to be our new way of restaurant.
yeah.
So
It would be awesome if it would, but the city has a lot of regulations even with that. I need to go back and check. If I do recall correctly, like the city of Bryan, for a food truck, for one, you have to move it every night.
mhm.
Okay, does not matter, every night you have to move it. I understand they say it's mobile, for me, there was no point. I was literally on my dad's property. Why
Mhm.
would I need, you know what I mean? Like, it was on commercial property, like, but okay, there's regulations, right? But the big one that I heard recently is they don't let you set out tables and chairs anymore for your guest.
Mm.
As far as I know, it might have changed. But I do remember that I saw one food truck that was like, oh my God, we're not allowed to do that. He had even posted some of his customers eating on the bed of his truck, of
Oh,
the bed
okay.
of the truck.
Right. So it's just a pickup.
It's just a pickup. So, but ideally, like, have you been to Houston? Have you seen how the food trucks are
Yeah.
there? They
Oh,
have
yeah.
their own awnings, their own tables,
Their
their
own
own, like,
DJ.
y thank you. Okay.
They have their
I don't know if
own.
y'all ever been to Magali's. It gets hype on the weekends. Okay.
Yeah.
She's on Texas Avenue, y'all. But yes, absolutely. From what I understand, the city of Bryan doesn't want that. They don't want that appearance.
Do you think it's to help the other
Yes,
restaurants
absolutely. I've
and
had
take away from food trucks?
many people.
Because the majority are Hispanics,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And do you think they're just trying to make it more difficult?
It I'm not gonna say that it's because of the Hispanics, but it's always been like that.
Hmm.
When I first started and I was like, first talking to other business friends, I'm like, man, I hate that I have to move in this and that. And they're like, well, even if you look at the regulations, a food truck is not supposed to be within 100 feet of a restaurant in Bryan, Texas, right?
They're all over the
They
place.
are, but they're not supposed to be, like, that's part of the
Okay.
regulation,
All right.
100
Yeah.
feet from a restaurant. Now, and when I think about when it says restaurant, does that mean a fast food joint? Or again, like you said, does
Right.
it mean, and I get it. Don't get me wrong. I
Right.
get that a brick and mortar is a huge investment as opposed to a truck, you know? We're talking about brick and mortar rent, the utilities, but again, how is that this person's fault,
Right. I
you know?
mean, you can see a restaurant next to a restaurant everywhere.
And
So
no
what's
issues
what's the
there, right?
point, right?
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
difference,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. 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 I haven't actually taken the initiative just because I get a headache just thinking of having to deal with the regulations, but why can't we have a food truck park?
Mhm.
You know? There's so many regulations to that.
Right. There are many cities that have, the whole street is, La
Mhm.
Calle del Taco
See?
or whatnot, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and I think that would be a better idea.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. There's a real cool spot in Houston, the Truck Yard. They
Mhm.
even have a Ferris wheel there, and, they have I think they alternate food trucks, so everybody gets, a piece out of it.
Right.
That's a big
Right.
one.
What do you think, other things that contribute to businesses going out of business?
Um
Uh, uh, because food costs is one thing, and maybe labor is another.
mhm.
A lot of people are not wanting to work restaurants anymore. Uh, what do you think about those things?
I don't think it's necessarily that they don't wanna work restaurants anymore. I think, the whole 2020 corona, lockdown and, the whole, pandemic,
Uh huh.
um, it, birthed a lot of self-employed people. So at this point, either people are hustling one way or another. So
Right.
why am I gonna go work for them when I can make more, doing
Right. Other
I
other
would
means of income.
yes,
Right.
exactly. Um,
Work at home.
Work at home, work at your own schedule.
Right.
There's a lot of young families now.
Making your own products.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly. So I think that's a huge part of it. You're right about, it is hard
Right.
to find. I got again, I can't comment too much on that because I got really lucky with my
Right.
employees, right? But I will say a manager or an owner can ruin it for the staff as well.
Hmm.
It's not just, oh, it's hard to find good staff. It's also hard to find good management.
Right.
And that's the reality of it,
Hmm.
you know. And the other thing is, um, we're in such a woke generation now or woke era now that these kids, I can be a little boomer when it comes to this, the customer service part,
Hmm.
you know. You people used to be like, oh, why don't you hang up? When they're calling and cussing you out, honey, I'm getting paid over $20 to get called this and that. I had one
Right.
customer one day, I was like, "Sir," he's like, "It's so close. Yeah, I'm so close to, calling you an idiot. If
Mm.
that's gonna make your experience better, go for it.
Right.
Because the longer I sit here on the phone with you calling me an
Mm.
idiot, that's more money for me, right?" Um, so I am a boomer when it comes to the customer service thing, and a lot of or just service period or how we treat people. And so a lot of these kids now, and rightfully so, are like, I'm not gonna go make $10 an hour to get treated like crap,
Mhm.
or to be talked this way, whether it's by customers or whether it's by their employer.
Right.
That's another part that I think is really hard to find help
Right.
as well.
Yeah, and food costs is way up also,
Food
right?
cost is way up. And again, we want to keep blaming the economy, but it really has to do I mean, our government. It really has to do a lot with the local part of it.
Mhm.
When I had a conversation with a friend about democracy, and it made me realize, democracy works so much better as a small, community thing, as opposed to the whole country, right? Because I look at Houston, right? Why can I HEB over there, I get 10 lemons for, 10 limes for $1. I'm over here getting them $4 for an hour for
Right.
$1, you know. Um, Food costs have gone up, but it's also depending on the area. Our cost of living over here is ridiculous for what
Yes.
we get paid as opposed to Houston.
Why do you think that is? Is it, again, is it our government?
It is to a certain extent, again, because like I said, I can't speak too much because I don't know how much control, but from what I've read,
Mhm.
there are cities that have implemented plans, out there to actually benefit, the local low income family or middle class. Because the reality is, who is the economy affecting, right? Whether we're in it or not.
Right.
I drive by Christopher's. it's packed all the time.
Mhm.
I think it's at Primrose Place, packed all the time. The Republic, I think it's like $100 to $200 steak, packed all the time. So who is it affecting? Again, the consumer
Mhm.
that can't afford that, right? So if our local government were to step in and I think maybe cap rent, that would definitely help. And I'm not talking about just business wise, but I'm talking about also as far as, homes, family homes.
Mhm.
There is no affordable housing in Bryan College Station.
Right. I
And if
think
it's affordable, it's not good.
right. I think the cheapest I've seen is like 1,200 a
Listen,
month.
I got my apartment and it's a duplex in 2020, 650 a month. I'm not leaving. I don't care what I
Right.
need to do or not. It's in great shape. I mean, it's little
Mhm.
things here and there, but there's a reason why I refuse to leave that.
Right.
650 for a 2 bedroom, 1 bath with a yard. A lot of who else can say that?
Right.
I mean, that's the reality. And it makes me sad. It makes me really sad, really sad. Because there's so many families that can't, afford it.
Mhm.
We think about these people aren't buying in this town thinking, oh, I'm gonna retire here and my family here. A lot of people are buying it as an investment, because once they're either done with their education here or their career here and they move, you know what? That house can rent out for $1,000 per room.
Right.
These college kids or their parents are paying $1,000 a room. A
Right.
family can't even afford that. A
Right.
family can't even afford that.
Yeah.
So
Um, I also heard somebody mention that the medians have a lot to do with some.
They do. They do. But again, I'm going to say the number one thing, y'all, we got to stick
uh,
together. Like, yes, yes, the medians have. It's a huge
right, because
inconvenience.
I've done that. I'm gonna, I'm gonna go get something to eat here, and I hit a medium. It's like, I'm gonna go to the next one.
Yeah, yeah.
It does. It has affected the way I, you know, buy
It
things.
does.
Yeah.
And I think it will for a while. I think at some point, if they don't get rid of them, because
Uh-huh.
like we can talk about that one. I read an article where now the mayor is saying that he felt he was bamboozled,
Mm,
that he was, okay. Well, like I said, we can talk about
right.
another one. But I think it's gonna getting used to if they're gonna stay. It is a huge inconvenience. The more we think about it, the more upset it gets us. But honey, have you ever missed an exit in Houston?
Yeah.
Yeah.
30 minutes to get back.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
I travel to Houston a lot,
Yes, exactly. So,
so
I
I'll make
think
sure I know where I'm going.
exactly. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. No, 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 no. It's bad when you got ADHD and you just zone out, and it's like, "Crap." Yeah,
Yeah.
So, the reality is people are I think we're gonna have to get used to it. That's just the reality. The whole 2020 thing is a new norm anyways,
Mhm.
and it's gonna constantly be new norms. This is the new norm, we gotta figure it out. Because what is gonna be left if nothing but medians? We're gonna
Right.
have medians and empty buildings everywhere.
Yeah. If you were the mayor, what would you do?
Oh, Lord, what wouldn't I know? Again, definitely, definitely, definitely looking at the housing, the oh my goodness, the market as far as the rental market. Definitely commercial. Commercial rent is out of control, out of control. Um, Personally, just because the type of person I am out there to be with the community. I would be out there with the community. I think what I do or try to do on my page right now would definitely be something, that I would, hey, let's highlight, something, every week or every
Mhm.
month or, on my page, like, hey, I want to see the Bryan mayor out in Bryan supporting Bryan. That's something and that's true to any business if you think about it. Because my friend
Mhm.
and I, or Charlie Mack, right? He had the burger truck. A lot of people, he would be like, a lot of people don't go just for your food, right? He's like,
Right.
they like you, they want to see. So that's a thing,
Right.
like I want to see the main, people will come here because you were there or you're there, or, that's a huge, huge part of business.
Right.
Having either a face or that hospitality, that people, oh man, I want to go there just because, if you're feeling like crap and, I want to go. Our motto was come for the beauty and stay for the love. We had yeah, we called it the trauma table. We were slow. I'd sit out there with the customers and we'd sit there and vent and, and we'd say what happens at the trauma table stays at the trauma table. So, I mean, obviously, the mayor can't go out and do that, but things
Mhm.
get more involved with the community. Boom, there,
Right.
point blank.
What do you think we should do as a community to help local
We
businesses?
need to stick together, guys. We need to stick together. We need to, and supporting is not just financially, okay? I don't want to come across here like, oh, go out and spend, spend, spend. Yes,
Mhm.
ideally, that would be the great thing. As much as I would love to support everybody financially, I can't. But that's why I've grown the page to what I have. I'm constantly, posting on there. If you guys want marketing, if you want me to share anything, if you guys need help with flyers, if you please reach out to me. Please do. No cost at all. I am privileged where I guess I can say I'm privileged this aspect that my thinking is unfortunately money doesn't motivate me.
Right.
Helping people
Mhm.
does. Take advantage. Don't take advantage of me, but take advantage of this opportunity. So that's a big part. And I tell people all the time, whether you can donate, whether you can shop, that's
Right.
neither here nor there.
Right. Share Facebook.
Share, share,
Uh,
share, people. I can show you the statistics or the numbers on my page. 98.8 the last numbers that I saw, 98.8% of people that are engaging on my page don't even follow me. They're non-followers,
mhm.
you know? I mean, like I said, we have 8,000 followers and we, have over 20 million views. So where are those people
Right.
coming from? So that's what I mean. If and don't think people can't see it. We can see
Right.
how many
No,
people are
we can see it because these
yes.
podcasts that I have, you can see where people are viewing your podcast,
Yes. Yes.
and 90% are not from this area.
Yes.
So
Yes.
all and you have a lot of friends, you have a lot of people that that
Mhm.
are not looking at your page for I don't know why,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And again, like I said, for me, what does it benefit me? I'm not
Hmm.
making, I'm not selling tacos when I'm in the mood to sell. I'm in the mood. Unfortunately, I do have a lot of anxiety, depression, ADHD. So there's times where I don't even want to be on, the social media part. Um, on a personal level, though, the connection I've made with I don't even like calling them customers, my friends on there.
Hmm.
They have that's what motivates me. There's days where I'm like, oh, I don't even want to post anything. I don't want to interact. Or I see comments and I'm not in the mood to interact because of my own personal stuff that I'm dealing with. Um, and then the moment I'm like, no, go over there and their reactions there, it just brings life to me, right? So on that aspect, I'm not gaining anything from this
Hmm.
other than sharing the love and the positivity and getting that back.
Yeah.
I feel like you get what you give. And I'm out to give positivity, love, and I get that back. That's what I get from this business page. I don't really get any business, like financial wise. No, it's
Hmm.
not. We're not like pop on and popping money wise, and that's okay. I don't need it. We all need it, I guess. But I'm blessed. I'm in a great position. Where I can help others the best that I can, even though I can't financially. It's by having a platform to share. GoFundMe. It's not just business. It's benefits, GoFundMe, and I reach out to the community all the time. I'm always posting like anything, just send it to me. Send it to me. I'll be more than willing to share. I'm sorry. I try not to use the at followers as much as because I know it can get annoying. I
Hmm.
try to save it for like
The real
benefits or
important,
yeah,
right?
real
Real
important
important.
things.
Right.
Yeah, real
What
important.
advice would you give somebody who's starting a local business?
The number one advice that I'm going to give is patience. Obviously, um, knowledge as far as being prepared is a huge part of it. And I'm sure if you haven't learned this yet in business school, you will learn. You should have at least um, 1 to 2 years of expenses saved
Hmm.
when you start the business.
Okay.
Okay. The other part of it is I'm going to say patience again, because like I said, when we first started, we were a big hit. And I think that that's I would say that's probably 9 out of 10 with all the businesses here. Right. Um, and I got confident. We got this instead of me putting that as savings to, hey, summer was coming up, the kids were
Right.
going to be gone. No, I just kept investing in it. Girl, boy, just ask people what all free stuff they get. I'm a giver. So I
Right.
was just reinvesting it. At that point, I should have just saved it. you know. Again, I was okay, but for other businesses that aren't, that's the number one thing is you have to be realistic about what
Right.
expenses are going to come. Economy can change. We've seen how much it's changed just in this past year here locally.
Mhm.
And with our cities being so dependent on the students, we have to plan for those times.
Mhm.
We have to plan for those times.
Summertime and
Summertime,
Christmas
Christmas
time.
time, and
Right.
I've also gotten a sense that these students aren't, at least what I've seen, the way these students are the new students here, I see them more, into the fast food and the franchises and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
I don't see them the way that, I remember,
Right.
so that's a big part of getting out there and marketing and,
Right. Right. Yeah, they're gonna go for the big names
yeah,
and sometimes these Mexican restaurants that are down here in Bryan,
yeah.
they really don't advertise at
No,
all.
no,
You
they
know.
don't at all, at all. I like to share as many Mexican food trucks that I can from Bryan that people don't know, because for one, I know it's good. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, but I've been and it's good. So I do, yeah, they don't know. I have tried to, there's one specific truck that I've been trying to get out there to meet, because I do, if I want to be able to get with them and be like, listen, there's a whole other market out there that you're not even tapping
Mhm.
into. And even with that said, they're thriving because we stick together.
Right.
We stick together. And that is the number one thing about this community. We need to stick together. We need to. It's not a us against them. It's half of the time us against us.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the reality.
What message do you want to give out to our community,
Oh my
the
goodness.
Hispanic
The
community?
Hispanic community. Ay, mi gente. Ay, mi gente. I love y'all so much. I love y'all so much.
Because we do spend money.
We spend money, honey. Like,
Uh,
it's, oh my goodness, yeah. Um, I guess for me, gente, there's just a whole other world out here that we're not either, we're scared. Estamos acostumbrados to what estamos acostumbrados. Or, like I
mhm.
said, my dad, I had a lot of pushback from my dad when I first started my business because of the culture, because of the way he was raised, because of the way he did business. Nuestra gente, we need to stick together. We need to be open to the whole new market. I know that we're really big about, word of mouth, pero get out there and get involved in things. And,
Right.
you'll see doors open that you would have never imagined. And por favor, no dejen que el lenguaje los pare.
Mhm.
El que quiere, quiere. El que quiere puede, ¿verdad? El que
Right.
quiere puede.
Yeah.
I've gotten real happy to see that on that BCS Meals deals. A lot of the Mexican owners will now go and put stuff in Spanish. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, probably a lot of people don't
Oh, without
understand that.
fear.
But
Yeah, they do it without
exactly.
fear.
And there we go. I guess
Right.
that's the message I want to
Yeah.
say. No hay razón de tener miedo.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. What restaurant that has closed that you wish it came back?
Of course, I'm gonna say Paisanos
Right.
because of the Chicago style
And
pizza.
that's been closed only for like 4
I
days.
know, I know. It hurts so bad. It hurts so bad.
Yeah.
Um, One of my ultimate favorites was Naked Fish.
Mhm.
They had this happy sumo roll,
Right.
which had like little potato strips on the outside, and it was deep fried and with honey, and I can't find that anywhere.
Right. I
It's
wish, I don't know if you remember Ken Martin Steakhouse, their chicken
yes.
fried
On
steaks.
29th Street?
Yeah. I miss
Yeah.
those chicken fried
Oh,
with the
man,
yellow
yeah.
gravies. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
remember
What's
that.
what's your favorite Mexican restaurant in town?
Mexican restaurant. As far as restaurant, ooh, baby. I get okay, I'm gonna say restaurant. Trying to think of the latest one that I was so hooked on that I was there every day. God, there's so many. Okay. El Sol has always been one of my
Okay.
favorites. The one on MOK, because
Mhm.
location does matter.
Mhm.
Don Chentes, baby. That is where I had my first birria tacos. And
That's
listen,
our after podcast
oh,
restaurant.
really? Oh, okay. Who's mine? No. Don Chentes is great customer service. The
Mhm.
food is
Right.
delicious. So that's one of my favorites.
So, and it's not too expensive.
And it's not too expensive. Oh
Right.
my God. My favorite is you know what? Actually, now that you're talking about it, FYI, people, that is the cheapest place that I've seen birria tacos, and
Yeah.
they're delicious. Every time that I've gone, they've
It's
been
actually the
delicious.
cheapest place that
That
we
you
go to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I know the
As far
loaded.
as Mexican restaurants.
Yes, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Don
right.
Chentes on 21.
Yes, that's the one we go to too.
Discount.
Yeah. Do you need spokespeople? Yes, that's one thing that I was gonna say about the prices there. Yeah, are
Mhm.
definitely and like I said, everything else is delicious
Right.
there.
Well, Irma, anything you want to add to the podcast before we go?
No, just thank you very much for having me. I do get a little nervous, so I'm sorry if I was
No,
all over the place,
everything's
but
good. It's almost been an hour,
oh,
actually.
oh my goodness, I didn't even realize it. Oh, we gotta go eat now. Thank you so much for
Well,
inviting me.
thank you for being on the podcast.
Yes,
I
and
enjoyed the podcast.
thank you. Thank you very much. I do want to encourage all small businesses, anybody. I don't even care if it's small business. If you guys ever need anything, please reach out to me on the Taquero Mucho page. I'm big on emotional, mental, and spiritual health. So if just reach out to me. Whatever I can do to
Okay.
help, I'll find a way, especially small businesses.
All right. Any shout outs you want to send out before we go?
Everybody, man. I love
Talk to me.
everybody.
Say
Yeah.
some
Oh
names
my
then.
God. So many. Oh my God. So many names. So many names. The whole community. If I were to sit here and actually say names, I'd never get done. My followers, even the people that don't follow me, the people that interact with me, I know I say it on the page all the time, but you guys are life. I am nothing without y'all. My darkest days, they brighten me the most. My followers, my people, the love that this community has. That's why I know we can be the greatest
All right.
community that we can be in Brazos
It's a
Valley.
great community
It's
here.
great
All right.
and filled with great people. We have some little quirks we need to figure out, but I don't necessarily feel that it necessarily falls down just on the people.
Mhm.
But
Well, again, thank you for being on the podcast. And I'd like to remind everybody to please subscribe to Desde Cero con Manuel on YouTube. If you follow Irma, hit the subscribe button
yep,
on Desde Cero con Manuel.
I'll be posting.
And thank you for being on the podcast. And everybody, we see you guys next time. And thank you.
Thank you.
See y'all.
Bye.